had your life change in a split second? Things are going along fine, right? You're just trucking along, everything's good, and then you wake up one morning and bam, your whole world is shifted. Me, I was 27. 3 years married, we both had great jobs, benefits, and car allowance. We were making a stupid amount of money for 27. And we had bought a house, not the huge house that the bank said we could afford, but a little house, because we were making good money decisions. I loved my job. I was driving all over the countryside, about 1,000 kilometers a week, and things were going really well. We felt like we had it all together. And then one day, I woke up in the hospital. It was beginning of January. I'd gone to bed like normal, and I woke up in the hospital. I learned I had had a seizure, and I had a problem with the arteries in my brain. They were built wrong. It's called an arterial venous malformation. It's a big one. So here's something interesting that happens when you have a seizure. They take away your license, which makes sense, actually. Safety first, right? So no license, can't drive the 1,000 kilometers a week I was doing, so no job for a while, on disability, tons of medical appointments, brain surgery, who gets to say that? It was a tough year. There was a lot going on. And we thought we had been doing pretty well, so we really weren't paying a whole lot of attention to anything besides my health and getting through. As the end of the year started to come, things started to get really real. Credit card was going up, the line of credit was growing, and we were starting to freak out. And we realized that maybe we had lucked into a few good money decisions, but day to day, we were a mess. So we thought, okay, we're going to consolidate. Little house, right? Good decision, we had some equity. And so we went to the bank, worked with an amazing banker, Susan, she was awesome. And she helped us do all the applications, she did all the paperwork, and we're filling out the paperwork, and she handed me one of these sheets. And I'm going through it, and I'm answering the questions. And as I'm answering the questions, my stomach starts sinking. And I just feel sick. So I hand it back to her, and she reviews it, and she looks at me and she says, "Karen, you don't qualify for life insurance." And all of a sudden, everything landed. Everything that was important to me was falling apart. My health, our financial situation, our security. If something happened to me, where our family had no safety net, it was a blow. So we said, that's it. That's it. We're not doing that anymore. We need to clean this up. We need to sort it out. And we drew this line in the sand. And we said, we need to make some new choices. What choices do we need to make to be able to create a different way of being in our world? To connect with our money, to sort out our financial situation. My health was improving, and so we needed to look at this. And so we made 3 big choices. Now, if you got your handout in the lobby, grab it out. You can work on it and go through it. If you didn't get one of these, come see me at the break or at the end, and we'll make sure you get one of these. And I'm going to go through the 3 choices that we made and share them with you. These 3 choices allowed us to change the way we were dealing with our money, and it changed the way we dealt with our whole world. So the first choice that we made was to do a whole clean house. I now call it a money life overhaul, which is really what it was. We overhauled our whole world. And the first piece of that, the first sort of action that we took inside of that was to get 100% clear on our numbers. We had no idea how much our life cost. Honestly, I didn't even know how much I was making. The disability I was on hadn't been paying what I thought it was. So we needed to get clear. How much did we earn? What did our life cost? Who did we owe, and how much was that costing us? So we got crystal clear on our numbers, and that clarity gave us confidence. The second thing we did inside of this choice of doing this money life overhaul was to take a new attitude. When you're over here in this really tough spot, you can feel a lot of shame and blame, and we said, we're not doing that. It's not fair for us to do that to ourselves. We need to choose a new attitude. And so we chose an attitude of curiosity and awareness. And this curiosity allowed us to look at our whole situation in a different way. It allowed us to explore and create and find new ways of doing things. And it really changed the way that we were to ourselves. We were not beating up ourselves anymore, and we were really being very open about what we needed and what was possible. And it made everything way more fun. The third action we did inside of our money life overhaul was to make some simple systems. There are a lot of complicated ways to manage your money, and a lot of the books give you all these complicated strategies, and we just needed something that was simple. They tell you to track all your expenses, which made us crazy. And honestly, all it did is tell us where we messed up. So we wanted something that helped us to plan forward, where we could actually create some stopping points so we knew when to stop spending money when we needed to. And so we set up these simple systems. This whole money life overhaul created connection with our money we had never had before. And what we found was that filtered out into our whole world. The second big choice that we made was to make some agreements between the two of us. Money and sex are still the two things that break up more marriages than anything else. And the reason that money problems and money conversations can feel so crunchy is because we wait for it to get really big before we get around to having the conversation. And so our first action inside of our new agreements, our first new agreement was that we were going to do regular money meetings. So we decided we were going to meet every single week, because really, how much trouble can you get in a week? And so doing this allowed us to be able to build this pattern of conversation, this pattern of new ways of doing money. And instead of this sort of really crunchy conversation all the time, many of them were very easy and simple. And so our expectation of these money meetings changed. The second action we took inside of agreements was to decide where we were having these money conversations. Kevin would get into bed and start talking about money. And I'm like, now I'm going to be looking at the ceiling for the next 2 hours thinking about our whole situation. So we made an agreement, no money conversations in bed. Now, my parents live across the road and they have a hot tub, so I extended it to no money conversations in the hot tub. Very important. The third thing we did around agreements was we agreed to discuss big purchases. Now, at the time, a big purchase for us was about $150. As time has gone on, that limit has increased as our financial situation has improved, but the agreement stands. When we know that we are wanting to make a purchase that's above that sort of decided limit, we talk about it to make sure that we're all on the same page. And that's made a huge difference. These agreements have allowed us to connect in with our money in a different way. It's allowed us to connect in with ourselves in a different way and to create this new place to have a money conversation. So the third big choice that we made was to redefine prosperity. Our culture is focused on money, on wealth, on how much do you have, how big is your pile of money. And that's a very limiting focus. And what we wanted to do was expand our perspective. And so we started talking about prosperity and really exploring the difference between wealth and prosperity. Wealth is part of prosperity. right? The money is, yeah, it's important, but it's just a small piece. What else do we have in there? Health, of course, important in our world. Family, community, service, our careers, our learning and growth, our connection. All of these other elements that expand our perspective. And it allowed us to look at our prosperity in a really different way. And really to own how incredibly prosperous we already were, even while we were going through this process of cleaning up our money house. And that decision was magical for us. Making that decision allowed us to look at our priorities. So priorities, we all have priorities. For us, family's a huge one. Being in nature is a huge one, spending time together and being in service. And so by aligning our priorities to the way we were making choices, it allowed us to feel even more prosperous. And then what we did, our third piece inside of our redefining prosperity, was to match our money to our goals, to those priorities. So I'll give you an example. My kids, family's important, right? It's one top priority. Our kids live away. Matthew lives in Alberta, Emily lives in France. And so for us, a priority is going to see the kids, as opposed to, saying, buying a new car every couple of years. So being able to match our money, now that's a big one, but there's lots of places you can do little ones as well, and that we chose to do little ones, right? We chose to buy really good, yummy, healthy food over going out, because we wanted the quality and the choice. There was lots of places where we made these decisions. So redefining prosperity for us allowed us to really understand our own prosperity in a much bigger way, not just about wealth. And it allowed us to create this connection with money, with ourselves, and to really have a much richer experience of our connection. And by using this larger definition of prosperity, allowed us to make friends with our money in a really different way. We learned so many good lessons about tenacity, about curiosity and awareness, about gratitude. So now, it's been 15 years. And as a financial planner and a money coach, and now the CEO and founder of Prosperology U, I've taught hundreds of other people about how to find their own definition of prosperity to help guide them through their process of making friends with their money and choosing to have that prosperous outlook so that you can make friends with your money. Thank you.